Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Dirk Pesch. I'm the head of the Nimbus Centre, and I'm also coordinating a lot of the research activities that are going on here. So I'll talk a little bit about in this talk now about some of the research that is going on in CIT, in Nimbus, Kappa, with two examples. So that you kind of get an impression of what we do in terms of research for industry. And then we have two speakers from our partner companies, and we'll have a panel discussion then afterwards. So the industry collaborative research in CIT is quite extensive. We have about 60 research partnerships annually with industry. And you've heard from Mark Whelan, for example, as how some of this is sponsored through the Gateway program and Enterprise Ireland, but there are other activities as well for those research groups that don't have a gateway, for example. 78% of our research involves an industry partner, which is very significant. We have a lot of co-publications as well with industry, and this is for a lot of companies, depending on what you do, is quite a good mechanism as well to publish together with academic organizations. We have the skill set of publishing because it gives gives the partnership, and also what you're doing gives it a recognition, because published research tends to be peer reviewed, so there will be others who are looking at this, who are assessing it to some extent, and so on. And that is kind of a verification also of the innovation that is going on. CIT has an average annual research income of about 14 million, 18 million in 2014, so it's quite a sizable activity. And we have about 300 researchers, of which 109 are PhD students. So there is a pipeline of new skills that we develop as well. And we see this here in Nimbus, for example. Young people join us, develop themselves, and then go into industry and become really very, become great staff assets for companies as well. So in terms of our research organization in CIT, we have 7 multidisciplinary thematic areas that address national, international research issues. So a big one is ICT, as you might imagine. Photonics is another one where Kappa are based. We do quite a lot in the life science and well-being area, for example. Maritime energy, sustainable environment is another big area for us, together with the National Maritime College of Ireland, which is part of CIT. And we have a number of other areas that are emerging and gaining strengths. Exercise and health is one of those. Entrepreneurship, competitiveness, innovation from a business and economics perspective. So we have a center in this area that is recently formed. And we also do quite a lot in the creative and performing arts. So as you probably have heard earlier, as the Crawford College of Art and Design is part of CIT. And so these different activities are organized in centers and groups within CIT. So if we look at animation, so CIT has certain ambitions, engage in excellent research with social economic impact, support the creation of sustainable employment with an emphasis on high-value jobs. So that is also exemplified in our educational mission at postgraduate level, for example. We want to support new businesses, which we have been talking about all day already. We generate a pool of talent, and we collaborate also with international partners, and this is quite significant because you've heard earlier about H2020 funding. So we have a very extensive network of international partners, both in industry as well as in academia, and we're delighted to bring into projects, bring Irish companies into projects and introduce them to our network and partner with them in European projects as well. So just two examples now about Nimbus and Kappa of what's going on here. So in Nimbus we have we have 4 pillars of what we do. So a research pillar where we try to develop new knowledge, where we look at what are the needs of industry, for example, in terms of innovation and so on. Learning is a big aspect, so training of not only postgraduate students but also feeding this back into the undergraduate courses. The industry aspect with the tech gateway here very strongly, and then we have a trialing activity under Litmus, and I think that's coming up later as well. So you hear a bit more about this. So I won't say too much at this point. In terms of our sorry, it's not. I have to try this way. Windows. I should have used my Mac. Okay. It's a little bit slow, I think. So yeah, the sun is shining in, so I'm not sure how well you can see this. But the technology focus that we have in Nimbus is sort of 4 pillars: network monitoring control systems, which we apply to a broad range of applications, and I'll talk about those in a moment. Hardware platforms, embedded and cloud-based software and tools, integration optimization. And in terms of our application areas that we work with, is we have these are along sort of what the European Commission now calls societal challenges. So smart cities is one big area for us, which encompasses aspects of energy, water, environment, mobility, traffic, transport. So it's quite a broad spectrum of interesting challenges that we want to help solve in collaboration with industry in order to help make the life of people living in cities better. Energy management control, we're focusing here on what we call the last mile, really. So we're not talking about smart grid, but we are working on microgrids, on energy efficient buildings, for example, energy efficient neighborhoods, and so on. So we have a broad spectrum of national and internationally funded projects in this space. Water systems is another very important area where we have a water systems and service innovation center that is a partnership with the 2 councils here in Cork, and in collaboration with a number of companies. And we're looking at all sorts of different aspects, from fresh potable water to wastewater treatment. Assisted living and health is another area we're aiming at. We've done a number of projects in the health space, assisted living space, and so on, again with companies. Just an example of some of our industry partners you can see is there's all the big names are there, like Intel, IBM, Philips, EMC, Honeywell in the ICT space. A lot of small Irish companies like In-Hand Guides, been working with Benetel, Decawave, Cylon, Innovatis, is a German SME, for example. IES, another SME in Dublin. And then we have good collaborations also with other academic partners, so both in Ireland as well as abroad. So we have a very strong network that we can introduce our industry partners to as well from a collaborative perspective. So the other example here is the Kappa Centre. So Kappa is a research innovation center focused on the application of photonics to new devices, to processes, and so on. It's co-located between CIT and Tyndall. There's a memorandum of understanding between CIT and Tyndall in terms of collaboration, and so half the team is based here in the Create building on the other side of the campus, and the other half in the Photonics Center in the Tyndall National Institute. And in terms of photonics, what the aim here of Kappa is sort of research, product development, process improvement, and consultancy in different areas around the application of photonics light sources to semiconductors, complex systems, using new materials, test equipment, etc. So that's kind of an overview of some of the activities that are going on here. In terms of practical research for your business, so what does it mean, research for industry? What do we offer? And so what we do is the research for industry means that we use our expertise, use technologies that we have already developed through research programs, perhaps funded by European Commission, by SFI maybe, and so on, to a particular TRL level, for example, that we can partner and provide access to those to those technologies, for example. We use our expertise to solve problems that your companies might have, and we help you to develop this in partnership to a stage where we have a proof of concept, where we're saying, yes, this can be done. We have a prototype that demonstrates this can be done. We can bring it to a level where we might be able to demonstrate it in a target environment and so on. What we don't do is we don't develop commercial products, for example. We leave that commercialization, that taking it from the prototype to the product, we leave that to our industry partners to take it from there. And we understand that, and Paul mentioned this valley of death earlier there, we understand that that's still a challenge. And we can support that, but we would not drive this. So again, on a day like today, we try to help identify the options of how this can be funded and so on, for example. But we don't take it necessarily immediately. We're not a company that develops commercial products, but we have a lot of resources, including, and we will hear later on about the litmus test bed of where we can actually trial and demonstrate in target environments where we have developed these capabilities. So in terms of what input does industry have here, of course we work closely, we discuss any collaboration in detail, we specify a project, we work on requirements, we specify the outputs and so on. So we typically work on a basis that is quite clear to all the partners what is it that is going to come out of here. So it's not, we're not trying, when we work with industry, where the aim is not, we publish a paper and then we walk away from it. That's not what we do. But we work with our industry partners to clearly understand what is the problem space, and then we develop solutions. Either we can do this on contract, or we prefer to do this in collaboration, because then technology transfer is most effective as well if the industry partner also participates actively in the project. So a couple of examples of what we have done. So one project we did here in Nimbus is around energy management, for example, where we work with a company called Eurotech to help them develop a wireless energy monitoring system for home heating applications. And they have quite clever technology in terms of using heat pumps and renewable energy schemes for heating. But the problem was how to control the home properly. Now, there is a lot of technology out there, but they found there was nothing there that would meet their requirements at the cost point they were looking for. And so we developed a very cost-effective wireless and to some extent wired solution with them that met their price point. So the technology is there now. We demonstrate it can be done to their requirements and their price point, and they are currently working on commercializing this. So taking it into fully fledged product and marketing it and rolling it out and deploying it. Another project, and this is an example of how different research units in CIT work together around supporting industry. So this is an example where Kappa and Nimbus work together with a company called Faltech in developing a first of its kind sensor system for aquaculture, at different scales, home, indoor fish farms, marine farms, and so on. The expectation here is that the business will be very largely export driven, and we have brought together the technologies that we had, and we developed a prototype for this. So then another project, and you hear more from this particular company later, a project Kappa did with Prophotonics in the design and manufacture of LED light illumination systems. And again, there is a pipeline that we can go through from the initial consultation discussion through a feasibility study that's funded by Enterprise Ireland into an innovation partnership project. And here, for example, it's value of 225,000. So as Mark Whelan said earlier, it doesn't have to be small, it can be larger as well, and so on. And now it can be taken into a pipeline of different projects to develop the technology further towards a product, or towards different versions, maybe different product streams, for example, and so on. So that's it for me for the moment. So we have 2 testimonials now from companies, and we'll come back then for a panel.